I found a baby onesie in my wife's car. And we don't have kids. That was the moment everything started to unravel. It was a random Tuesday afternoon. I had taken my wife's car to the mechanic because she said the brakes were squeaky. As I adjusted the passenger seat to fit my longer legs, I noticed something jammed between the side and the center console. It was a tiny, yellow baby onesie, still with a price tag on it. At first, I thought maybe it belonged to her sister. She had a baby recently, right? But then I remembered, her sister lives 3 hours away and we hadn't seen her in weeks. So, why was this in her car? I texted her, "Hey, found a baby onesie in your car. Did you pick something up for your sister?" She took 2 hours to respond. And when she finally did, it was just, "Oh yeah, forgot to give that to her." Something didn't feel right. And that's when the pit in my stomach started growing. Because just last week, she told me she was working late at the office, again. She's been doing that a lot lately. Working late. Getting quiet. Guarding her phone like it's classified intel. We've been married for 8 years. I thought we were solid. Sure, we had some rough patches, but who doesn't? But that stupid little onesie. It was about to blow everything wide open. I couldn't shake the feeling. That onesie, it wasn't just a random item. It was a message. A breadcrumb trail. And I was going to follow it. That night, she came home smiling like nothing had happened. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll through my phone, but I was watching her every move. She kissed me on the cheek, walked into the kitchen, and started heating up leftovers. I asked her again, casually, about the onesie. This time, she didn't hesitate. "Oh, yeah, it's for Jenna's baby. I meant to send it last week. Totally forgot it was in the car." But here's the thing, Jenna had a boy. That onesie was clearly made for a newborn girl. Pink trim. Daddy's little princess written across the chest. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I started watching. Listening. Noticing. She changed her perfume. She started showering right when she got home. She turned her phone face down every time she put it on the counter. I'm not proud of what I did next. But I had to know. I waited until she was asleep and slipped her phone from under her pillow. She had changed the passcode. She never had a passcode before. After 4 failed attempts, it locked me out for 15 minutes. That's when I knew for sure, she was hiding something. And I was going to find out what. The next day, I stayed late at work, pretending to be swamped, just so I could sneak back home without her noticing. I sat in the car outside our house, heart pounding, clutching her phone. When the lockout timer ended, I tried again. This time, I thought hard about the number she uses, a birthday, an anniversary, something personal. And then it clicked, the date she and her friend met, something she'd casually mentioned months ago. Unlock. The screen lit up. I hesitated before scrolling through her messages, but my curiosity was stronger than my doubt. The texts were explosive. She was messaging someone named Mark, late-night messages filled with inside jokes, plans to meet, photos I wasn't meant to see. One message said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Our little secret." Another, "Baby girl is waiting for you," red heart emoji. Wait. Baby girl? Was that the connection to the onesie? I felt sick. But then I found something worse. A series of photos showing her and this Mark, holding a baby. A baby that wasn't ours. That's when the full weight of the betrayal crushed me. I sat in the car for what felt like hours, staring at those photos. My wife, smiling with this other man, cradling a baby. Not our baby. Someone else's. Someone she had kept secret from me. My mind raced trying to make sense of it all. Was she cheating? Was this child hers? Was Mark the father? How long had this been going on? When she finally came home that night, I confronted her, not with anger, but with numbness. "Who is Mark?" I asked quietly. "And whose baby is that?" She froze. For a moment, I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes, then she sighed and sat down. "Okay," she said. "I owe you the truth." She told me that she'd met Mark a year ago during a work conference. It started as a friendship. Then something else. The baby? It wasn't ours. It was hers. She hadn't told me because she was scared. Scared of losing me, scared of judgment. She said she wanted to raise the baby alone but needed support. I was crushed, but more than that, I was betrayed. Not just by the affair, but by the secrets, the lies, the silent distance between us. And then came the hardest question. Why didn't you tell me?" Her answer was simple yet devastating: "I didn't want to lose you." But the truth was already tearing us apart. I felt like a stranger in my own home, watching her live a double life. For weeks, I wrestled with my feelings: anger, sadness, confusion. I wanted to scream, but mostly I wanted to understand. Why didn't she trust me enough to share this? She tried to explain how isolated she felt, how overwhelmed by the pregnancy she'd been, and how Mark had been a lifeline in a time she thought I wouldn't be there. But there was something else lurking beneath her words, a fear that our marriage couldn't survive the truth. I asked if she still loved me. She hesitated, then said, "I don't know." That broke me. How do you fight for a marriage when one person is already halfway out the door? I spent sleepless nights pacing, trying to decide what to do next. Could I forgive her? Could we rebuild what was shattered? Or was this the beginning of the end? The days that followed were a blur of tension and silence. We both tried to act normal, but the air between us was thick with unspoken questions and hidden pain. One evening, I decided to take a different approach. Instead of pushing her away with accusations, I invited her to sit down and talk, really talk. I asked her everything, about Mark, the baby, and her feelings for me. Her eyes welled up with tears as she confessed she never wanted to hurt me, that the affair started as a desperate grasp for comfort during a lonely time. She told me Mark wasn't just some fling, he'd been there when I wasn't, emotionally distant, buried in work. She felt invisible in our marriage. That hit me like a punch to the gut. How did I miss all this? When did I become the man who showed up but wasn't really there? For the first time, I saw her pain, the loneliness, the fear, the guilt. But I also realized the foundation of our marriage was cracked beyond repair. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every moment we'd shared, the good times, the bad, and now the lies. I realized something terrifying. I was grieving not just for the marriage I thought I had, but for the person I thought I knew. The woman beside me was a stranger carrying secrets I couldn't ignore. I thought about leaving, walking away from the mess. But something held me back. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was hope. Or maybe I was just afraid of starting over. I made a decision, to go to couples therapy. To try, for ourselves, to fix what was broken. She agreed reluctantly, but I could see the spark of something, maybe regret, maybe a flicker of hope. Our first session was brutal. We aired years of resentment, pain, and unmet needs. I confessed how distant I'd been. She confessed how lonely she'd felt. It was raw. It was painful. But it was real. Therapy became our battleground and our refuge all at once. Some days, we made progress, small moments of connection, understanding, even laughter. Other days, the wounds opened wide, and anger flooded in. One session, the therapist asked us to write letters to each other, letters we wouldn't send but that forced us to confront our deepest feelings. Reading her letter broke me. She wrote about feeling invisible, unloved, and trapped. About how the affair was less about Mark and more about a desperate cry for attention and connection. When I shared my letter, she finally saw how much the betrayal shattered me, how it made me question everything. Slowly, we began to rebuild trust, brick by fragile brick. But just when I thought we were finding a way forward, something unexpected happened that threw everything into chaos. One evening, I came home early from work, hoping to surprise her and maybe salvage some normalcy. Instead, I found her packing a bag. "Where are you going?" I asked, voice tight. She looked at me, eyes red, and said, "I need some space. I'm not sure if I can do this anymore." I felt my heart shatter all over again. But then, as she zipped up the suitcase, her phone buzzed. I caught a glimpse of the sender, Mark. The message preview read, "Miss you already. Can't wait to hold you again." It was the confirmation I feared but never wanted to see. She was leaving me, for him. I begged her to stay, to fight with me, but she was already gone. The house felt empty, cold, like a tomb for what we once had. I was alone. Betrayed. And utterly broken. In the weeks after she left, I was lost in a fog of grief and anger. Friends told me to move on, to forget her, but every corner of the house screamed her name. The bed felt too big, the silence too loud. I kept replaying our last conversation, wondering if I could have said or done something differently. One night, I found a hidden notebook, her journal. It was full of raw, painful entries about her struggles, her loneliness, and her fears about our marriage. Reading it, I realized she wasn't the villain I imagined. She was a person drowning in her own despair. But that didn't erase the betrayal. It only made me realize that love isn't always enough. Sometimes, People grow apart even when they want to stay together. Months passed. I threw myself into work and tried to rebuild my life piece by piece. But the scars of betrayal ran deep. Then, out of nowhere, I got a call from Mark. He sounded nervous, hesitant. "Look, I know this isn't easy. But your wife, she's overwhelmed. The baby is sick, and she needs help." I was stunned. After everything, why was he calling me? He asked if I could come by, just for a moment. Something about the way he spoke made me agree. When I arrived, I saw her, tired, fragile, holding the baby. It was a quiet moment far from the drama, just the three of us. She looked at me, eyes pleading. "Can we try again?" she whispered. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to run, but another part still loved her. That moment forced me to face a choice: hold on to the past, or take a risk on a broken future. I sat there, staring at her and the tiny life in her arms, feeling a mix of emotions I couldn't name: anger, sadness, love, confusion. She told me how scared she'd been, how alone she felt raising the baby while trying to keep us together. Mark had been a temporary refuge, someone who helped her through the darkest days. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said softly. "I just didn't know how to ask for help." Her words hit me harder than any betrayal. In that moment, I realized that what we needed most wasn't blame or anger, it was understanding. Compassion. But forgiving her? That felt impossible. I wasn't sure if I could trust her again, or if I could trust myself to open my heart without fear. Still, I knew one thing: if we were going to survive, we needed honesty. No more secrets, no more lies. It was the hardest step, but maybe the only way forward. The following weeks were a roller coaster. We tried to rebuild from the wreckage: family counseling, late-night talks, and small gestures to remind each other why we fell in love. Sometimes, I caught glimpses of the woman I thought I knew, warm, caring, hopeful. Other times, the wounds we'd opened bled fresh, and old arguments flared up like wildfire. I struggled with jealousy and trust. Every text, every phone call made me question: was this a second chance or just a pause before the final goodbye? She was patient, but I could see her wariness. One night, I found myself staring at the baby's crib, wondering if we could truly become a family. Could love really survive this kind of betrayal? Could I? The answer wasn't clear. But one thing was certain: the road ahead would be long and uncertain. Then, unexpectedly, something shifted. During a quiet evening, she opened up about her fears, her doubts about herself, about us, about the future. She admitted how guilty she felt for the lies, how much she wanted to heal but wasn't sure if I still wanted her. Her vulnerability cracked the armor I'd built around my own pain. I realized we were both broken, both scared, but maybe still willing to try. That night, we made a promise: no more secrets, no more pretending. To be honest, even when it hurts. It wasn't a fairy tale fix. It was messy, awkward, and scary. But it was real. For the first time in months, I dared to hope. Today, I don't know what the future holds for us. We're still walking this fragile line between healing and heartbreak. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at the baby's laughter, feeling a flicker of joy I thought was lost forever. Other times, the past crashes in, and doubt creeps back like a shadow. But if there's one thing I've learned through all this pain, it's that love isn't perfect. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes it breaks you. But maybe, just maybe, it's worth fighting for, even when the scars run deep. If you've ever been through something like this, you know how hard it is to forgive and trust again. Thanks for listening to my story. If you want to hear more real stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.